Okay, so let's get started on today's class. I'll be taking a look at this piece. I have been trying my best to stay in the miscellaneous part of the Reddit just till the end of the year. I do want to take a look at some 14-day challenges between now and the end of the year. And I have been trying to do that just because I know some people started their 14-day challenges at the start of this year, so in January. And this is an example of person's 1 year progress, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kyle. Do you know if this is the same post that said 1 year, right? Amazing improvement. Yes, it's 1 year improvement thanks to everyone in this community. So congratulations. I cannot even begin to explain how proud I am. Or just express how proud I am. It's such a wonderful, massive change. Two completely different people, not the portraits. Two completely different artists drew this. I hope that year of discipline, that year of pushing yourself, that year of hard work also changed your personality for the better. Also taught you a lot about the beauty of discipline and how discipline is the only currency you have, to get you to where you need to go. It is the only method that is dependable, that you can trust. Discipline is that invisible reason why things get better, things are better, people improve. Discipline is why things happen. It's not motivation. Motivation is not the thing that led people to space, that led, amazing, what's the term, like innovations, or the reason why the vaccine is currently a thing. It's why it's even possible, why it's at 95%. Is the word efficacy or efficiency or something. It's the fact that these people showed up to the lab, to the office, to their desktops, to their tablets, and they pushed despite not wanting to. That's a very, very crazy thing. So the fact that you did that and for a year and you improved and you stayed active on the community, congratulations. I'd like to reward you somehow, so message me on Facebook. This is something that I like to do for those who take notes, stay active, and complete their 14-day challenge. Even if it takes you a year to complete your 14-day challenge, it's not any less improvement. Try, at least. Push yourselves as far as possible in relation to you. Your push is different from someone else's. And so you might take a month for each post, but a month for each day that you complete. But you still, if you were to compare, and we're never supposed to compare our struggles to other people because every single person's struggle is unique to themselves. You don't measure on, you measure on the object receiving the struggle. So it doesn't matter if you didn't finish it. If you got 6 solid portraits, that's 6 solid portraits you did and you never used to do. So, though I won't look at a 14-day challenger today, I want to express to you guys that a year is going to pass anyway. Imagine, this is today, last year. Nothing's changed other than the time. So if time is the only, difference, that means that the rest is just up to you. Time will pass. Time will, pass whether we like it or not. And then if we die, we die. All right? But time will pass. So as long as we're here, we can trust that the time will pass, the seasons pass. The thing that keeps us going is not motivation, because motivation is fickle. It can change whether or not, it's winter. I feel like drawing because it's winter. I'm so cozy. I'm going to stay in my office and draw a little bit. And then what happens? A week of that and you're just back to your old ways. You know what? I'm just going to leave. I'm going to watch some Netflix. I'm going to watch Netflix, 3-season binge Netflix. And I'm just going to eat some cup noodles. That is motivation. Motivation is fickle. It disappears. Discipline is whether it is, just imagine a little like GIF and someone at their window, and at the window you can see the change of weather, whether it's snowing, raining, fall leaves, atomic bomb outside. The artist is still at their desk and they're drawing. That's discipline, right? Discipline is that reason. Discipline is the space in between this portrait and this portrait, whereas motivation is, ooh, I want to do a 14-day challenge. Yes, let's do it. And good. Motivation is a good kickstart, but it's not going to get you here. Motivation is going to be like a little fart, you know, like, and that's that's as far as you can get. With the motivation, it's a good little push. It's a good little gassy push forward. But discipline is that invisible force that gets you to the goal, that unspeakable beauty, that just like that shiver down your spine of improvement, that holy crap, is this even the same artist? So congratulations. Message me on Facebook so I could give you something, some kind of reward from my store, or something that you'd you don't have, like the brushes, or maybe Portrait Studio if you're interested in it. I'd like to reward you somehow. And though rewards shouldn't be, again, it's motivation, and motivation is fickle, so it shouldn't be about rewards. If you guys want to start on the 14-day challenge, it shouldn't be about the praises or the likes or what have you. It should be about that unshakable skill that you now have in your itinerary, in your arsenal, in your whatever. I always fuck that word up. It's that, it's that skill that you can call anytime. It's wealth. Knowledge is wealth. So make sure that you guys are, doing it. Socrates says. Socrates. All right, let's get artillery. Thank you, Richie. Should just call your first attempt a fart. I said, hey, I said that motivation is the little. All right. It is like Dark Souls. One has no motivation to move on, but you do go on no matter what. It's a much darker way to put it. Yes, life is like Dark Souls. Absolutely. Speaking of Dark Souls, Hollow Knight, the Dark Souls of the pixel art world, or it's not even pixel, it's like hand drawn. Let me tell you something about Hollow Knight. All right, me and my friend were playing it. He did not enjoy it. I enjoyed it, but it was a real struggle because it's such a abysmal game. It's not abysmal in that it's badly made. It is unbelievably well made. It's just, if you don't struggle in your life, if you have no struggle and you crave some struggle, like if you want to season your life with some spice of struggle and pain and frustration, if you feel like your hair is just too dark on your head and you'd like some salt and pepper white streaked across your crown, the Hollow Knight is right for you. If you feel too happy, if you feel like your face isn't wrinkled enough with the wrinkles of suffering, Hollow Knight is right for you. So if you guys have never played Hollow Knight, I don't know what to say. Again, that if that's what you need, if you need struggle in your life, probably not. If you have, you know what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying. It's a game not for the faint-hearted, but I want to take a look at this because it's really atmospheric. And I want to talk about one big fundamental rule about composition and framing. Okay, so we have a little something called the center of the canvas, which isn't a little something, it's just the center of the canvas. This center of the canvas, it can be filled with empty space, which is nice. It's a nice breathing room. It's like, there's little fairies and another breather. Oh, and then there's the guy. So that's kind of how you feel when you look at a nice empty space here. That's good. This is great. What you did here is excellent. What you didn't do well is the fact that if this was a cinematic scene and I was the director, I would not let an outside light shine inward to cast a shadow toward that empty central space in the canvas, because all these shadows are like an arrow and they're pointing the character, they're dragging the character to fill this space up, if you get my meaning. Do you guys get my meaning? So, if 2020 was just a bit too boring for you, Hollow Knight is the game for you, exactly. So then we have this issue now. We feel like there's a dragging effect. Do you guys see that? Do you guys feel that dragging effect towards the center of the canvas? So it came to the point where it made no sense for the composition outside of the, what's the term? Notwithstanding the fact that you have fairies that are the source of light in the image, that are supposed to be where the light is shining on this half of the sphere. So in movies, the only time we see light emerging from the side of a scene, you already know what I'm going to say, is when something is about to enter the scene. Some kind of force is about to enter the scene. So there's no reason left for you to do this with the light. So what I'm pausing is because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to fix it. So let's see what my magic hands can do. So I'm going to flip the canvas this way. I know, it's crazy. But I'm going to delete this way. And I might abort mission because I'm creating a monstrosity. Alright, let's just keep going. Let's just see what my magic hands want to do. Let's just have some faith. Alright. So that dragging effect is going to go, and then we're going to make a much more sense of what's happening. Even if you don't, per Istebrak's, style of doing a response to the light source. So even if you don't grab this yellow light and grab the exact color and use it on the face, and then, use soft brush and get that cool look, which I will do toward the end. Even if you don't do that, if you just kept your basic lights, but shining in this direction, it would have looked fine. Okay? So, obviously you gotta fix the horn. The horns, right? The antlers, whatever it is. So, some parts of the game were truly magical because you really had to work your ass off to get that shit. And then the game is just one big struggle, and it truly is purgatory. Like it truly is a hell. In my opinion, it's like a good example of what hell or purgatory feels like, or like, the earlier levels of hell anyway. So that game is just ruthless. It's if you're a weak-hearted mortal, there's no saving you. And we were weak-hearted mortals, but we quit it. But we got pretty far. It was a lot of research. I felt like I was constantly having to search something up because everything that we came upon while playing needed a tutorial, because it was like, how the hell are we supposed to go forward? Oh, you're just supposed to make 1,000 more mistakes and then you'll find a new pathway, a new door you didn't try. Okay, there goes 4 hours of my life. I'm a hardworking woman. I just need a game that I can, rest with at the end of the day. But apparently Hollow Knight doesn't think I need rest. Struggle, only struggle. It's a good game for, like, people who live in the Soviet Union or something. Am I saying that right? Like in the Soviet Union, you don't play game play you, like, kind of thing. That's what I feel like Hollow Knight is. Alright, and then I'm just gonna fix what's happening with the you had time to rest on your job, not to play Hollow Knight. Exactly. That's really good. That is so funny. So I'm just gonna clean up the face. And even if it's 3/4 view, I feel like, I mean, you did do it here. I feel like we don't really need to worry about the horn overlapping. Alright. Yeah, time to rest on your job. That is funny. So I'm gonna clean that up. And then there's the skull. So I remember critiquing a Hollow Knight piece before I knew what Hollow Knight was, and I kept adjusting outside of their initial design. So this time I'm going to try to stay true to the design. Some of those bosses, oh my god. I forget that boss, that motherfucking surprise that you get. That was annoying. Alright, and then I'm going to just try to fix the eyes. So I forget, is the Hollow Knight's eyes asymmetrical? Are they asymmetrical? Hollow Knight, because you feel hollow after you play it. Alright. No, they're actually pretty symmetrical. I guess you were just trying to be creative with the oh no, did I just close everything? Did I close the chat? No, I did not. Okay, cool. So so yeah, let's just stay true to the initial design, which is these really bright, hopeful eyes. All right. So now it makes a little bit more sense. We've closed off that side of the canvas, and I'm going to just do a little bit of color correction. Man, that tea hit the spot. I've been cutting out all caffeine, and it's been amazing. So coffee is so horrible for you sometimes. And as artists, we're really, really prone to coffee addiction. So I'm so happy I cut it out. A lot more mind space, but then you know, when you actually do have tea, which tea can have more caffeine, but the way that coffee is made, coffee ends up with more caffeine than tea. But when you do end up having that cup of tea, it really lasts a long time, and tea gives you a very different type of alertness than coffee. So it's a really, really crazy journey, similar to playing Hollow Knight, quitting coffee, but I recommend it. Yeah, that tea really hit the spot. All right, so before. All right, so you can see that it just feels like something's lurking outside of the canvas, and I should just be paying attention to it and not paying attention to the canvas. That's bad, right? And you've done so well on this part here. And this light, you've done two things where you've ignored the light. The light should be bright here to explain what's happening. Water is a reflection of what's happening in the sky, right? That back. I know that seems very basic, but you guys always ask me, how do I render water? The only thing saving you that's making this look like water is the reflection. You guys forget to involve the light and change the value on that the water is reflecting. No, this is not, it's not an actual mirror. The reflection of the waters, the picture of the nearby environment on the water has already passed. That happened here somewhere. So the sky, it's around this point, this distance point, we no longer see the reflection because it's not a perfect mirror. It's constantly moving. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we end up not getting this perfect image. It's actually a lot more distorted than that, and we should be seeing more of the nearby environments reflected in the water so it feels like water. Shit. All right, so this is just general brushstrokes. So what I'm going to do is just close off that side of the canvas, because again, it just feels like something is emerging from the other end of the canvas that's destroying your atmosphere. And if you know this game, you know it's a very dark game. You don't have these big bands of light traveling across any particular environment. It's a very, very dimly lit game. It's very, very atmospheric. It's very saturated with all of that kind of nighttime feel. My favorite map is the City of Tears. So pretty. I love that constant, you know, the sound of the water in the background. I love that. Okay, so now that we fixed all that, these, though they are separate from each other and they're tiny little fairies, have you guys ever noticed that when you turn off a light, or maybe midday you light a candle and it's like, it looks like the tiniest little thing, it's insignificant. But then as the day darkens and then dusk hits and then you have nighttime outside, that candle is just like booming with light. So though they are small, they're actually creating a massive impact on the nearby environment. First of all, they should have a light value a value, like a value change around them, maybe like a pinkish hue for the initial value, and then a yellowish kind of, how do I do this? I'll get that in a little opacity, and then just bring in that yellow value there. I forget, are these just map fairies, because I never finished the game, or are these part of some kind of spell you get? Alright, and then after color correcting, I'm going to just go back to normal layer mode. And then just slowly kind of descend on each fairy. The reason why we do these realistic fan arts is because we're trying to create, you know, the feeling that it's it's like a rework, give it its own stage on which to be realistic for a second, because the game is so huge. To have made it a realistically rendered game was just crazy. It would have taken an army. So you lose a lot of realism, and so they made up for it. I don't know how they did that. It's an amazing game. They made up for the atmosphere that you lose because of the realism. Because of the loss of the realism. And they made up for it by being really, really particular about keeping the game dark and giving everything its own individual glow. So you're actually honoring the game and what it does by exaggerating the glow of these little guys, because the game is so dark. And then every little magic spell you get, every cute little thing that you pick up is, it just gives you that little bit of hope that not everything is as depressing as the rest of the game. So darkening the rest of the canvas and then allowing that glow to really come through is just going to improve the read of what you're trying to say. And then I can see a little fairy in the water. Bad. Again, water is not a mirror. It's reflective, but it's not a mirror. A mirror is a very, very different surface texture. It's still, first of all. It is perfectly smooth, very, very little texture. And this, you know, the slightest scratch, you're going to see it. That's how perfect and clear it is. And it reflects to near perfect the picture that light carries around. So light carries around pictures. It's a picture. There's constant photographs floating around us, because that's what the light is doing. It's carrying the picture of the object from which it reflected, jumped off of. And so are you saying that water is perfectly smooth enough to bring out the picture in every single ray of light that falls on it? No, only a mirror can do that, and even then it can be distorted. That's why when they distort a mirror, you get those circus, funny looking, wobbly mirrors. You get different pictures that change the way you look, because it's taking the picture and liquefying it in front of you. So it's not strong enough to reflect every single little fairy. Though you think you found a hack to making perfect water texture, you did not, in fact. All right, and then I'm going to just get back what you painted here. I'll re-blur it in a second, and then I'm going to get rid of in as straight a line as possible, because the surface of the water is like a horizon line, and this thing is like a horizon line, this little bit of earth. And then there's the fact that the earth that's coming out is not casting a shadow, it's just limiting where the light can start reflecting. The water can start reflecting the light. Right. So there's two things that are going to create the atmosphere for you. The fact that you are successfully reflecting the light on the water, and the fact that you're getting the sky color, whatever it is, and throwing it on the water. Right, because water doesn't contain shadows in it. If it's if you're comparing it in the nighttime, everything's black. But it's not going to carry around the same shadows as we see on the object. Basically saying it's not going to carry around the same contrast. Alright, so what I'm going to do is try to get back the closer we get to the object, sure, that reflection will be a lot stronger. But water doesn't really exist without the nearby objects anyway, and the largest nearby object is the sky and the atmosphere. And so you have these shadows and these breaks where the water pools in between, and you don't really need them. Because again, the largest object will always, imagine we zoomed out so far that all we saw was this little guy and his little fairies. When you look at the picture this way, just because you zoomed in doesn't mean all this extra physics disappears. This physics that existed around the sky, the atmosphere, the swamp, all of that still existed. You're just taking one photograph of a very, very big event, one small crop of a very big event. So the event of the light on the water is a lot bigger than your tiny little character. And that's what I always say, the ego of the artist, the ego of the, it's not like bad ego, it's kind of like psychological ego, I guess I could say, is that ego that makes you think that your object is the most important thing in the painting, when it's not. It will always be the natural world surrounding them. And then I'm just gonna lower the contrast, because then we're losing the earth around. Alright, so we've cleaned up a lot of this stuff. And you're probably wondering, you know, where the hell did my character's reflection go? Because that's the only thing really just saving the painting. It's there. The thing that will really push the painting forward is where exactly we feel like, I feel like this fairy, the lowest fairy, is just over here, but not as a picture, it's just as a light. And then there's just what paintings do, which is break a lot of light rules. It's a very specific kind of rule breaking though, be careful. Meaning you can get the exact calculation for where these things are. You can find the best reference and just do that. Or, because it's a painting and it's a very removed from reality painting, meaning we're talking about a horned creature, you can get away with something like that. And this works just fine. Because it's multiple, you might want to have multiple bands, but it works just fine. And that saves the day for the light. And then instead of trying to paint the character and his perfect texture reflection as if it's a mirror on the ground, you can find where the light is peeking through a lot of these areas and try to paint the nearby sky. So this is a much more realistic, less realism way. You get what I'm saying? So you're jumping toward realism, but not all the way to realism. That way you can still have that cartoony charm to your fan art. And then there's the fact that we have yeah, the color of these objects. Make sure you reflect in color as well as magnitude. Okay, so lots of atmospheric stuff. I don't miss his reflection. I feel like we're getting a lot more out of this than we did before. The way you did it before, which just looked like a very swampy but only reflective in one area kind of thing. There was no reflection out here even before my light reflected on it. Then I'm going to burn and darken the earth a little bit. I know you probably want to keep most of the fog, and the fog is a very specific, I think you need it. It's a very specific kind of texture. You go straight for gray when you're doing a fog. And then you do have to pick out, you know, the nearby colors. You also go straight for gray when you're doing smoke. But really fog is like this very static, floating surface. It's not a billowing, you know what I'm saying? It's not a very fluffy. It's very static and straight. It's like a piece of fabric, like hanging over all the land. So you want to just, if you feel like you need that fog, let it cling to the surface. That's why I had to darken the earth, because then it was just going to be really confusing where that fog started. And then I'm just going to color correct just a little bit, because I still want it to feel gray. Okay, so that's a little bit of fog there. And I'm very, very particular about it. Fog doesn't really move around objects. It doesn't change its shape for them. It kind of has a very particular band where it starts and where it ends, because it's just based off the surface of the earth. It'll move around, obviously, hills and valleys, but it kind of doesn't, it's not a, it has a very specific level, just like clouds do. You can see where clouds stop, you know, before they get any lower. So that's why making it straight will make it read more as fog. So this is all atmospheric talk. This is just to keep the painting feeling atmospheric. I'm going to blur as much as I can that object in the foreground, which you blurred earlier, which was a nice blur. And then this stuff here, I'm going to try to make it a little less visible. It's too stringy. You should not have stringy objects in the background, because string or anything that is that clustered, like hair, just feels like the cameraman's hair got in the way of the camera. Do you know what I'm saying? It attracts a lot of attention, and you already have these little guys here, so it's not doing much for your painting at all. So either get rid of it, or if it's vines, why are they so hairy? They should be thicker and clustered together, and if there's thin ones beside, we wouldn't see them, they're so small. Alright, so I'm going to do just a last little bit of framing before I get to the object, which is, again, another way I'm showing you that your ego doesn't matter. And this is not referring to a personality ego. This is your, you know, the ego of the I am now painting my character. You know, that's that ego, my character. Maybe it does have to do with personality, but I wouldn't say it's a bad personality trait or something that's damning, because a lot of artists, every artist, has a sense of respect for the object they're painting. If we were really going to go Hollow Knight, we would do something like this. Alright, so this is very, very Hollow Knight. We had a very dark ceiling. Everything always felt so claustrophobic while painting. While drawing, while playing. So I want to show you how, and then he always had like a little light around him, because he is the hope. So I feel like this is actually very, very Hollow Knight-esque. And it does a lot for the, shit, not again. I forget what the combo is. Motherfucker. I forget what the combo is to cancel this. Cancel. Oh, there we go. I did something. It's Control Alt something. I forget what it is, but I did it. All right. So this feels a lot more Hollow Knight. Okay. And again, we're thinking about the atmosphere of the character, around the character, before the character, and that actually helps you make sense of your character. That makes your character feel a lot more important. So looking up Hollow Knight, I feel like you don't really have the Hollow Knight image, you know, of the character. I don't feel like he looks like Hollow Knight. He kind of doesn't really have a chin. It's just all eyes. And the horns are a lot more chunky. That's how every character was so simplified in that game, and that's how you sort of you know, just create a distinguished character between him and the rest, is that the rest were so simplified, but he had these details. That's all detail. The weird horns, the all eyes makes him look a lot more cute and approachable a character. So now we can talk about the character first in the read. And I want to make him look like he's looking a little bit at the lights. I feel something, I just don't know what it is. Just this unfeeling creature of death. And so I'm tilting his eyes a little bit. And then I'm going to clean up that Tim Burton dark circle. There are other ways to make him realistic. Try not to change the character while trying to add realism, because, you know, as realists, we don't need any more reason for people to think that going realistic is a bad thing, because, oh, you're going to change the character. Alright. And then, the horns I'll deal with in a second. Just separate them. Yeah. I'll deal with those in a second. Let me just, he's just very scrunched, and to get the feeling like we are actually looking at him, we really have to bring the eyes closer to the chin, canceling out the chin, so he doesn't look like Cartman from South Park. Hefty Cartman. Oh, sorry, Big Bone. Alright. And then I'm going to clean that up. He just looks like a cute little boy. And then I'll do the horns. And the horns also need to tilt with the head to make him look curious. So now this characterization is that much more romantic. Doesn't always mean I love you. That doesn't mean that all the time. Romantic means the, you know, the romance, meaning the fantasy of it. So the romance of being a knight, you know, and oh, that was a bad example, because, you know, knight is very romantic, lovey-dovey, but, you know, the romance of being a Frodo and fighting against Sauron and the adventure of it all. You know, that's what I mean by romance. So the romance of this entire scene is the glow and the seasoned warrior who's also adorable, looking at the lights, feeling something, feeling hope. That's what I mean by the romance. And the romance of it all is improved by us focusing on the lighting a little bit more. So we're going to give him his little nubs, which kind of looks like arms. This game is so full of mystery. You know, it looks like arms just going up. That'd be funny if those were his arms and he's just got his arms in the air. So where is my Hollow Knight reference? Just to get one last look at it. It doesn't seem to get thinner. It kind of just stays with the same thickness all the way up. So I'm gonna just stick it in. It's a very rough game. I know you're probably like, you know, Istebrak likes this game. Maybe I should play it. No, don't do it. First of all, if you study and you're working on your art, shut up. You don't need any more games. It's not. I don't want to be the person who recommended this game to you, because it's just chaos. It's pain. It's Hollow Knight without. I mean, it's Dark Souls without the realism. If that's not your type of game, just don't do it. Alright, so you see what I mean by the romance of it all. And darkening that upper half of the canvas added to that romance. Spamming the chat will be a mute, so it looks like a cute, harmless game. Cute, harmless game. What does the control do? Thick. Why don't you tilt the horns as well? Keyboard, sorry, keyboard. Yeah. Alright, and then I'm just gonna correct this area. Clean that up. Shit. It's gonna be messy cleaning it up because the horns are underneath. And I'm gonna make the face a little bit more square because I feel like he's very square dude. And I'm just gonna tuck his chin. All right. And then I'm going to do that Istebrak lighting thing, which is getting the light source color, actually picking it, and applying it to the object, which is going to just complete everything. So you can see I didn't really do a lot of what I instantly do sometimes. The gradients are killing me. When I'm painting, which is just go straight for making the glow better. It's about the atmosphere. It's about building the world around. And that's how you get realism in your work. So the way you've rendered him is you've tried to put him into this realistic world, but then you kept him with the original game shadows, that cell shade. That's, if you're gonna go for realism, just go for it, man. So grab the color here and just think about your radial shading. Come on. And on a new layer, I'm just going to climb upward closer to the light. And then obviously, because it's in a new layer, I can delete it. So just that kind of made him a part of his environment again. So look at how long we worked before we finally focused on the character. Right? And that's how you should be thinking. That's not how you should be working, because you're working from scratch, right? But that's how you should be thinking. Yes, you're going to sketch your characters first, obviously, because you want to lay them down. But when you start rendering, you render the sky first. You render the water first. You think about the water and the sky. You think about the framing. What are you trying to say about this character? Is it a gentle scene? If it is, and it is. So the pink fairies floating around. It's not like these fairies are going to turn into a boss, but if we're talking about Hollow Knight, just maybe. Alright. And so we've made him a little bit more 3D, but as you know, it's not about the highlights, it's about the core shadows. It always will be, no matter what you're doing. So that's when we're really going to get that pop. This kind of shadow you drew on him is not the kind of shadow that would result from 5 candles floating around. It's not that they're not dark enough, it's just they're not rounded around the character enough. I'll delete. And then, you know that bounce light you have, that white ambient, look how nice that looks, but as an ambient light. This was your original light. And the core shadows were pointing inside the painting. Now it just looks like cute little ambience, right? And I'm just easing this shadow a little bit. And I don't want to throw too much of a dark value over his face, but I will throw a mid-tone of some kind. I'm still on dark him, which is good. And then I did lose the color, but that's fine, I can add it in. And the horn needed a stronger belt shadow, just because we're talking about the cylinder. And then this half needed some light as well. Alright, so we added volume. We've talked about the benefits of the core shadow. We've added volume. Alright. Trying not to let it feel flat. And then I'll probably bring in that same bounce light that you have, that really pretty blue rim light. And then just push it over. Just this. It's pretty, it's just, it does such a good job. And that's gonna just wake up that kind of dark half. I feel like it's too dark. Make sure to stay close to the edge as possible. A good rim light is a thin rim light. The thicker it is, the more cheesy and corny it looks when you're applying it, because it just looks like you're desperate for some form. Rim light is not about form. Rim light is just about light effects. I did a whole class on that as well. So I'm making it a bit thinner. Kind of almost not there sometimes. And I'm going to choose those areas. From a distance, I'll choose them. And I'm only this zoomed in just because I have to detail and clean up. I want to do some cool effects like the shadow of the sword. I think it's nice. But I feel like it might affect the way we see the character a little too much. I might keep it and then just bring in some thicker band of light down here. And then I want to just make those hollows of his eyes a bit more strong. But we need some kind of, you know, less dark black in there as well to make it feel like they are hollowed out. So I'm just brushing that evenly inside. All right, so any questions at all about these changes? Or are you all just looking forward to before? Let me see. I'm still not sure about whether or not I want to cast the shadow off of this because it was supposed to be rim light that's ambient. It should be able to wrap around. But I don't know. I like the cast shadow too. Any questions? Rim light's not about form, it's about light effects. Then rim light's less corny. Yes. It seems to engage an option where the menu's top. Yeah, that's such an annoying little thing. I like how the warms and cools play together on the mask. Yeah, me too. Alright, so I looked away for a second. I can see I actually want more down here. And then I'm going to just choose, you know, where some of that rim light is exaggerated on his form, but we don't really want to push too much the feeling like light is coming in from the side, and you'll see in the before. Another thing you could do is completely cancel out that dark half and then just make it so that he's glowing and they're both glowing together, and it's just really cute. So really close off that far side of the canvas, and then we're going to close off this corner, which will get rid of these annoying little things. And I feel like some of the earth down here needs, it's like almost a core shadow. I don't know what it is. It is a core shadow. It's also the wetness of the earth touching the water, but it just needs to pop up a little bit. It's not so flat. That's just a core shadow. Core shadow is like a defibrillator for any object that you feel doesn't have enough information in your painting. If you feel like the object is flat, boring, low contrast, core shadow can solve all those problems. However, a student attempts to solve these problems just like an uneducated kind of medical student tries to save someone. They don't know where to start, so they'll just try anything. And that's what the student will do, is they'll try anything and end up with a dead patient. So just trust, you know, the core shadow. Go back to your fundamentals. And don't try to resuscitate someone if you're not educated in the subject. Alright. Istebrak's class is weird. Because he's glowing, we decided that he's glowing too. I might just sneak in Just something like that. Did you hear that? Did you hear my brush? Just like that. Something really, really quick and simple. All right, so something very basic. I would do way more form wrapping and radial shading around the head. But this is all up to you. Also, other things I do is like maybe make him have those little, you know, he's looking at something cute. Maybe not. Maybe you just want to keep him that stoic character that we know and love and hate. And just trying to make the eyes even. Because we are seeing the inside of this hollow section, we might actually see kind of like the rim of the skull as well, which you might want to sneak in. It might catch light, it might not. And if you want even more likes on Instagram, just like really push those big eyes. It's physics. It's nature. Make the eyes big, get more likes. People coo when they see a baby. People will express how much they like the baby they're looking at when they see the big eyes by pressing like, and then we'll get rich. I'm not crazy about the big eyes, but I think we increase the size of the eyes enough. But if you feel like copying the original Hollow Knight, his eyes are gigantic in his head. I just love this drawing. It's so pretty. It's so clean. You can see how ours is very different, but it still feels like the game because we kept the eyes close to the chin. All right. Kind of like a jack-o'-lantern, yeah. I'm gonna get Dodge Tool and just try to hollow the insides of his eyes out a little bit more. And still feels like the sockets aren't strong enough. I'm gonna smudge the edges. I feel like they're too sharp and they don't feel realistic. So for everyone who is waiting on a sale for Portrait Studio, it will be this Friday at probably midnight. It'll start moving into maybe a 2-week period where Portrait Studio will be on sale for more than 50% off, so probably 55% off. So if you're waiting for Portrait Studio to be on sale, it will be soon. As promised, same time every single year, we have very, very big sales moving into the holidays on my store. And if you want any of the brushes I used today, they're also available on my store. I feel like I added too much softness. I'm just going to use sharpen tool to kind of just sharpen this area out. And then for one last push, I'm going to use his volume, his body color, and just kind of throw it over his head, but deleting away of the eyes, just so it's a complete glow. Don't want the core shadows to be interrupted. Just want to clean that space behind him. Okay. There are patches here and there, but I think it's not about the object, which is the moral of the story today. It's about the environment. It's about the mood and the atmosphere. So let's take a look at the before and after. Before I do that, now that I'm zoomed out, I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna push the levels down on the, just the contrast around him. And then raise up. Yeah, I feel like we really need to push his contrast a bit. So give me a second. So before the dodge, I'm going to delete away anything that was dodged that wasn't his face, because that looks bad. So we just get that contrast, because his face was really low contrast. Usually in my critiques, my afters are always low contrast. Just because I never want to encourage dodge use or burn use. It's tacky. It's cheap art to use dodge to shade for you. It's like, hey, I know that people are attracted to light, so let me just put a bunch of lights around me so that they can come and give me likes. Hey, I know people like candy. Let me just hold a bunch of candy, and then I think people will flock around me because I'm holding candy. That's the equivalent mentally, you know, the mental thinking, that how I imagine these artists who are obsessed with dodge will think. I know people like sparkly things, so let me wear a bunch of jewelry so that I could, you know, get more people to like me. It's really, 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 really simplistic. So before, after. So you can see how your version was a little bit challenged. He still looks like he's looking at them, but you were trying to actually make him tilt his head. He has no neck. What would he be tilting his head on? Ambient light is the leftover light that's floating around, causing trouble with core shadows, but not enough to turn them, to not make them core shadows anymore. They're still core shadows, they just have this band. It's basically bounce light. It's also the possibility that blackest blacks don't get to be their blackest black because there's just too much light bouncing around. So it's like ambient. It's just a light that's just creeping around, you know, leftover light that doesn't belong to anything, that's just creeping around. That's just a narrative way of describing it. It belongs to everything is based off light. But that's just the narrative way to remember it. So before, after. That light coming in from the side, what was that about? The water didn't seem like water, it seemed like a mirror or just like another person underneath. Right, the glows now actually can happen now that we darken the outside. But remember, we didn't darken the outside before the glows, we focused on the glows. The water reflecting the pink of the fairies, the blue surrounding the character. And then the core shadow not pointing to the empty space in the canvas, which is now a really, really nice, comfortable space between the two. But that way it's not clustered. And what I mean is, if you had brought all of the fairies over and had them migrate here, you just have less breathing room. And now the fact that they're out there is just a nice amount of breathing room to just and then take on the next subject matter. Right. So the thing you guys are noticing the most is the change of the head, which we did last and it took us 2 seconds. The thing you should be noticing is the atmosphere. That's what sticks. I could have just changed the head and that still would not have been enough. This is what makes people come back to your gallery, the environment, the atmosphere. That's what gets you likes. Thank you. I couldn't translate ambient in that case. Yeah. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you everyone for coming. If you want to buy Portrait Studio on sale this Friday, the 20th, you go to my store and that's where it'll be on sale. It's currently on sale, but it's a smaller sale that I'm just going to keep running throughout the year. But the biggest sale is going to be in December, and then of course in a couple days. December might be the 55% off, a couple days might be the 50%. I'm not sure. I'll probably just have a fixed price. If you learned something today and you want to give back to the community, you can join as a patron. Even if you just join as a $1 patron, that's $12 a year to be part of this community is absolutely free. You don't have to pay to be a part of the community, but it's encouraged that you support the community if you can. I hope it's not too annoying checking out and joining on Patreon. You guys might be, you know, suspicious of Patreon or any kind of sponsorships or memberships online, but it's just $1 a month for anyone who wants to join. And then there is the Reddit. So where did I pick up this piece to critique? Off the Reddit community. So go to istebrak.com and press on the Reddit icon to join. We have 3.2K members currently and rising. Lots of people are active. And commenting on each other's posts, and if you aren't getting any critiques on your work, it's because you're not giving any. So stay active so that people can be active for you as well. And that's it really. We have a current challenge running. It's a holiday challenge, holiday design challenge, really fun. That's why you're seeing these ice creatures here. So I can't wait to look at those. It'll be in December before Christmas break, which I take every year. So the 17th of December is going to be the last critique hour of 2020. And then the 5th is going to be the first day of critique hour of 2021. So I'm going to have like a month off. Because there's no Tuesday that comes after that. So I'm going to have a nice amount of time off, which is, I'm going to love that. And that's for private tutoring too. It's a complete break that I get. Probably find some work to do. But that's when it's going to be due, the 17th, Thursday. So if you want to join the environment challenge, the creature design challenge, you can join here. If you want to find other challenges, you just have to go to my channel, and that's where you'll find the history of challenges that we've had. Community design challenge. So this is the playlist for it. You just have to go on my channel, and there's tons and tons of challenges that we've, that's just what I was playing, that we've done in the past. Just tons of them. I think this is the last year's holiday design challenge, which is the Finding Santas, the Dueling Wizards. Before that we had all kinds of really, really cool, like we had the Glowing Elemental. Oh, this was the Harvest Goddess. The Glowing Elemental challenge was the bomb. This is the Floral Humanoids. I love that one. That's my favorite one too. The Glowing Elementals was really cool. God, I just want to do this one again because the colors were just so beautiful. You guys were looking at all kinds of really, really cool shapes and silhouettes and materials that were glowing, and it was all about bioluminescence and subsurface scattering. It was hella fun. So yeah, do take advantage of what this community is offering, because there's a shit ton of stuff. I'll see you guys on Thursday, this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you everyone for joining, and goodbye.